So thank you as always for joining me today. I'm Valerie Sokolosky, your host. We are into the 8th year of this wonderful podcast where I have fascinating guests, and I can't wait to tell you about who is on the show today. I want today to introduce you to Phil English. He calls himself the robot philosopher, and you'll find out why. So stay tuned.
Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Valerie. Hi, it's good to see you.
You know, I have to tell the audience that you are joining us from the UK, and I'm more than honored because it is, let's see, in Dallas, Texas, it's about 10:30. What time is it there?
So it's 4:30 here, Valerie, coming to the end of the day. So, yeah.
So you're ready to go to the beach or have a glass of wine or unwind, and I'm getting started.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And as I was saying, it's a bank holiday here this weekend, so Friday should be easy. Should be quite a nice, relaxing Friday.
Oh, that's good. Well, I know you work terribly hard, and I just want to get right into our show because you are the robot philosopher. I want to know a little bit about why you call yourself the robot philosopher.
Yeah, that's fine. So obviously, for philosophy is the sort of the love of education. That's what it means, from a very basic principle. And obviously, I love to teach about robots. And the actual name came around was must have been about 7 or 8 years ago now, when I was doing some work in some schools, and we were supplying some robots into schools. And the challenge that we found is that the teachers didn't have time to actually learn how to use the robot correctly. So when they were teaching the kids, they weren't teaching them the full spec of what the robot can do. So I said to them, well, look, what I'll do is I'll set up a YouTube channel and I'll do some videos. So that's what I did. I spent a lot of time, did about 20 different videos, and then those videos were shown within the school so the kids can learn how to use the robot. And back then, obviously YouTube was still quite new, and I just thought, oh, like, what shall I call myself? And I ended up just calling myself RoboPhil, because that was the first thing that sprung in my mind. And then from that's sort of grown into robot philosophy, which is sort of more around education and some consultancy and advice now.
So I want to go back to how this all started with you in grade school. But while you're on the topic of your company, tell us who all, I mean, you're a big deal, and I'm really honored to have you on the show all the way from UK. Tell us about the companies that you are working with. On your site, I was fascinated with all of the pictures and videos of your robots. And I got to thinking to myself, first thing I want to ask Phil is, do they all become your friends? I mean, they're named, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. It's funny, like, one of the main things that we do when we're setting up a robot in a company is we say, oh, like, you have to give it a name. And sometimes what they do is they actually have a poll, like, within the company, and they go around to pick the perfect name. So yeah, most robots get names when they're in there. And then yeah, from a company side, so we're essentially a sort of a specialist niche company, and we specialize in 2 different areas. So one side of the business is called Robot Center, and that specializes in the next generation of robots. So the old generation is where you'd have a big warehouse, big cages, big robots, like making cars, whereas the new generation is known as the collaborative robotics generation, which means that you can work right next to these robots, you can work with these robots. So that's Robot Center, where we install different types of robots into Honeywell, Johnson and Johnson, various aerospace, corporate and government. So a full mix of customers are now looking to industrialize their warehouses and their manufacturing sites. And then the other side of the business is called the Robots of London. And this is where all of the retail robots fit. So the robots that go into restaurants, the robots that go into events and marketing. So you think Robot Centre is the back end of the business, Robots London is the front end of the business. And what's interesting about Robots London is we deal with social robotics. So these are robots that go into care homes, go into kids' schools, and they're designed to actually be a social friend and a social robot for those corporations.
That's just fascinating. One of the questions, and I've been asking a lot of people to send me and get questions for you, and one of them was, to this point, can they have empathy?
That's a very good question. I mean, it goes on towards the AI side of things more than anything. With me specializing in robots, we obviously look into AI as well, but the whole thinking and ethics of robotics evolves in AI. So what I've seen and what I've read is that by 2030, the chatbots will be essentially like you and I are having a conversation, and we're nearly there now, to be honest with you. And then once it gets to that level, then the robot will seem like it will have the ability to be a character and be a real life person, but still in the background it's still machine learning. But for us, it will seem like that.
Fascinating. You're fascinating, and you're young, and you're an entrepreneur, and you're innovative and creative. And how did you get started in just even thinking about robotics? The story you told me about grade school.
Yeah, so I mean, the first time I actually had my experience with robots was actually, I must have been about 7 or 8 at the time, and it was the first film I ever went to see in the cinema, which was a film called Short Circuit. And essentially, it was about a military robot that gets hit by lightning and essentially becomes alive, and he goes off on all these different adventures. So anyone who remembers that film can probably remember the basis of it. And because I was 7 or 8, since then I've had a massive passion for the robotics, and getting into robots. And I've had sort of various different technology careers, but obviously 10-15 years ago I managed to start to get into the robots industry. And now it's funny, we're actually coming to a world where that Johnny Five character from Short Circuit is actually almost real. I've seen robots that actually look like him, and with that AI chatbot, we'll be able to speak and communicate. So we're getting towards either the Star Trek, Star Wars types of robots now.
Are you going to do a movie?
Well, I haven't had any offers, but yeah, I wouldn't say no.
We need to.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah.
All of our producers here will have to get together and find somebody in Hollywood, right, and get them hooked up.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you say that, because I did read they were looking to do a new Short Circuit movie, and I did reach out to the directors, and I actually suggested some robots that actually look like the original Short Circuit, but a newer version. But like, they never came back to me. I was trying to give them a hand, but they never came back to me. So.
Oh my goodness. So, sidebar comment, my son was an actor, one that you'd know, but I won't say it because he'd get angry, in Hollywood. And so I learned a lot of these things behind the scenes, and I saw some of these things that could be robot oriented. It's just fascinating to me what technology is doing overall. Talk to us about maybe the most unusual robot activity that maybe one of them is doing in industry, or as you mentioned, in restaurants or whatever. What fascinates you the most about where they're going?
Yeah, I mean, just to cheekily jump back to the Short Circuit thing. Yeah, I mean, if if they do the movie, it'd be my dream to get in the movie. Like, even if I was just walking past the tree, like in the background, I'll be happy with that. But yeah, but to answer your question, it really fits into two sides. On the industrial side, it's all about material handling. So to give you an example, when we worked with Honeywell, we had a lot of the staff just pushing trolleys around and carrying trolleys around this massive factory, which causes health and safety issues, productivity issues, and then just the efficiency of the people, because they're not really doing much with their brains. They're essentially just pushing things around. So
Mhm.
what we did is we implemented some collaborative AMRs, stands for autonomous mobile robots. We put 3 of them into Honeywell that basically do all the material handling, and that allowed the guys pushing the trolley more time to do more of the productive fun work. So that's one side of the industry. And then the other side, for the event side, we were actually at the Formula One a few weeks ago, and we had one of our humanoid robots down there, and we had a great time. Everyone was coming through the front door, thousands of people, and the human there was shaking hands and waving hands and answering questions about the Formula One drivers. It was a great event. So it's sort of two complete different sides that I'm quite lucky enough to be involved with. So.
Well, I had a question from a friend of mine who's the CEO of the North Texas Food Bank, Tricia Cunningham. I'm happy to mention her name on the show. And she wanted me to ask you this. So picture a big, huge, the largest, I believe, in the country, food bank. Food is distributed and trucked out and so forth across the state. So she was saying, can they sort food? Can they scan expiration dates? Can they, or will they be able to box up the food for distribution instead of we who go out and volunteer and pack the boxes with the food and so forth? Now, that volunteerism, I will say, brings a lot of joy to people who do volunteer and do those things. But isn't that something robots will eventually be able to do thoroughly?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I've lucky enough to work with on a few current projects where essentially it's not food, but it's waste. So
Hmm.
when you throw all your rubbish into the dump, and then the big truck comes along and takes it off down to the waste disposal plant, what normally happens is a lot of that gets tipped onto a massive conveyor belt, and then that conveyor belt goes down a massive warehouse where there's literally people standing on either side just picking off potential plastics and metal and rubber.
Hmm.
But now what's being developed is a robotic arm system, which essentially can detect if it's a piece of metal, detect if it's a piece of plastic, and be able to actually pick up these items off this conveyor belt. So a similar technology could be quite easily used in that food industry scenario, where when the food comes in, the cameras can be there to check the actual expiry date, to check the type of food, to check where it is. And there's the intelligence is actually in the camera, where the camera can even detect the way that the food is actually positioned. Is it up? Is it down? Is it sideways? And then as it goes through the system, a robot arm can come and pick it up, put it in a certain box, and then let's say it's sandwiches or something like that, then that sandwich box can move into another robot production line where it can then be packed and boxed. So it's definitely coming. And yeah, I've done some charity work before, and as you said, it's
Hmm.
I always find it's dealing with the people and helping the people. But if you're more efficient and can get more to them, then it would make sense, to actually do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. You have a lot of family members in your company. I don't know how many employees you now have, but I'd love to hear and visualize what a typical day at work is in your environment. What I get up and I come to work at your place. What am I doing? What are different people doing in their roles?
Yeah, it's always fun. The emails that come in are always the best things, because we get people coming to us with different sort of ideas. So on the robot center side, on the industrial side, they'd come in to us and say, well, look, we manufacture these pipes, or we manufacture these certain boards, and we need to be able to actually have a system that can pick up the boards and spray them properly. So that's when our guys get involved and have a look at different systems that would make sense to do that. So it's always quite creative in the
Mhm.
robot industry, because you get a lot of standard robots, a lot of standard cobots and AMRs, but really it's the integration into the business and the application. And then we have a lot of good conversations with like hospitals and new customers, where we go in there and we have a look to see where the pain points are and where robotics can come in, because especially in the UK, it's such a new, fresh thing. Like, we really have to go in there and educate them. So I quite enjoy doing that. And then on the social side, yeah, it's all about AI now, and that communication side, where they're asking us to get the robots to do certain types of tasks and quizzes, and like provide some educational content. So again, it's very like creative on both sides of the business. It's quite fun.
One of your robots that I fell in love with online was Scout,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
dog. Kind of the
Oh,
dog.
you mean Spot the dog?
Spot, yes. Okay, excuse me.
Well,
Tell us about him.
yeah. Yeah, that's fine. So Spot is Boston Dynamics started dog, which is actually a massive robotics company in America. They've got humanoids as well. One of them being Atlas, which are very, very advanced. And this is one of the other things, like so Boston Dynamics with their Spot the dog and their Atlas, their robots are very advanced. They're very much at the top of the line robots, where the actual robot is autonomously doing something.
Hmm.
Whereas we've seen a lot of other robots sort of lower down the pole, which are teleoperated, and essentially they're sort of fake sort of robots. When you see a robot like chopping food on TV, sometimes that is a system where there's a guy behind the screen who's got a operation system doing the work. But with Boston Dynamics and Spot, they've got the most advanced robots in the world. And yeah, that it is actually doing that work the same as a human, with like with no trickery in the background.
That's fascinating. One of the also fascinating but wonderful ways that you talked about with me that robots are being used in all those hazardous situations where humans might have been going in and now they don't have to. Tell us some stories about any of that application.
Yeah, that's right. So Spot would fit within those types of applications. So he can do inspection, security,
Hmm.
and patrols. So we see a lot of the fire brigade, we see a lot of the police, we see a lot of the army take Spot on and do various different tasks. I was actually working with some of the army guys before, where they have the small robots, where they use it's more of like a tractor wheel, where they actually can throw it into a wall or throw it into a cave, and then essentially they can then control the robot in on the other side of the wall or the cave to see if there's any dangers there. So we had some fun with those guys, and I think there's going to be more and more of those types of robots coming into the service world now and normal world, where we're starting to see these types of robots more on the streets and doing a lot more type of security patrols.
You know, it's interesting, Phil, that you mention on the street. I live on a fairly busy but nice neighborhood street, so it's not highway in any way. But recently, since I met you, there is a robot. He's, I don't know, maybe 2 feet tall and about that square. And he's got big eyes. And I don't know what he's doing. He is just rolling down this quiet neighborhood street. What might that robot be doing in our neighborhood?
Yeah, so that sounds like a food delivery robot. So we've got those in the UK, but again, I think America's probably a little bit more advanced than we are.
Huh.
So we got a company called Starship, and essentially, if I want to order like some food from the local store, I can order it, and then the robot will bring it to me. So that's probably what that is. It's probably a food delivery robot, and it hasn't got to be food. It can pretty much be anything within the shop. So yeah, it's quite cool to see that you guys have got those as well.
Yeah, we do. I thought maybe about prescriptions. Could it deliver like people who are in an elder care situation, and medicine be delivered?
Yeah, so medicine can also be delivered because the robot comes within a locked case. So
Hmm.
the idea is that it's quite secure, so the robot can't be broken into. So yeah, I mean, anything that will fit in that box can be delivered. The only thing with the medical side, I've seen a lot of the drone technology get involved
Mm.
with medicine, basically because of the speed. Again, it all depends on the laws in the certain like country or county about what drones can do and where they can go. But I've seen a lot of projects where you have the drones linking directly into hospitals. So
Hmm.
you literally, the drone will pick up, fly off, and go and land inside the hospital, which obviously
Wow.
is the fastest way to do it
Hmm.
because it's not going down the roads, and obviously it's in the air. So yeah, I think for the medical side, I think it will be more drones because of the speed element in the future. But I know certain laws, especially in the UK, is you've got to have line of sight, which means that you got to have a controller who can always see the drone, which makes it a bit unpractical because that's the whole point. The drone's doing the work by itself. But yeah, you can definitely in the future see that happening.
So I was thinking about how I'd like to use my robot. And obviously, there's already one that's Roomba, I guess, on the floor, and it cleans the floors, and that's fine. But just talk to us about typical home. And right now, is there a robot that could do some things in our home?
Yeah, so an interesting thing happened last week where it was the Beijing's Chinese World Robot Competition in Beijing. And there was some very interesting games there, which involved a robot being in a house, a robot being able to pick up things and put things away. And they actually had a winner. And the winner actually was like 50% better than all the other robots. I'm just trying to think of the name of the actual company. I think the robot's called, it begins with a G. I'll have to find out and send it to you. But basically, this guy was able to work in a pharmacy, work in a home, and essentially be able to pick things up, place things away, and be a useful tool within the home. And this is where it's all going. And again, it was completely autonomous. There wasn't anyone in the background. It was doing it completely itself. And I think from the information I read, they've actually rolled out 10 of these robots into a pharmaceutical company already. So in a pharma company, just an average shop where you pick up your medication, and they're looking to roll out another 100 soon. But that sort of tech easily comes into the home and does lots of home jobs. So yeah, that's the next big thing. I mean, so you got the robot hoovers that clean the floors, but I think the next jump has to be a big practical jump with robot with arms and the ability to actually do something practical, like load the washing machine, load the dishwasher. I don't think they're
Hmm.
at cooking skills yet, but once you have the robot in the home, it's the software update, it's maybe a little bit of a hardware update to get to that sort of standard.
That's just crazy. You live it every day, and it's normal to me and maybe some of my audience. This is just absolutely movie interesting. We got to get you on a movie, that's for sure. You need to star in it. Work on that.
Yeah.
So I here's a question that someone wanted to know. They said, ask Phil about the five senses. You know, seeing and hearing and touching and smelling and tasting.
Yeah, yeah. So there is a lot of technology coming down the road which is focusing on that. So obviously you've got the seeing, so that's cameras.
Yeah.
So camera development is coming, dramatically faster with the technology and the capabilities. Being able to see, and that example with the food and the waste system, being able to see in different shades and different lights and different spectrums to be able to tell difference between metal and wood that have been like covered with loads of dirt and picking off the right thing. So so that the camera technology is getting faster. So that's a massive improvement there. Touch, I've seen a few different companies look at robots that can actually feel with a few different types of technology. So that's coming as well. So obviously once you have touch, then it's easier to do more advanced tasks with like materials such as cloth, and then also skin and medical and sort of deep sort of medical robots.
Mm-hmm.
Smell, yes, there's a few smell robots that have been developed as well. It's probably not as advanced as the eyes and the touch to come in, but that's definitely there as well. What do we got? We've got three there.
The hearing.
Taste. Oh, sorry, yeah. So for hearing, that is interesting because we just have our standard microphones, and actually that's probably the thing in the future for social robots, what needs to be advanced. Because what we find is we can put a chatbot onto a social robot, and if it's in a quiet room, it's fine, you could have a full-on conversation with it. But as soon as you put it in a noisy environment, it just hasn't got the intelligence and the capability as we have to have a conversation in a noisy environment. It basically hears everything, and of course when it hears everything, you can't really have a conversation with it because it's still picking up other people speaking in the room. So that would be a great one for robotics from the social side, from the real life side, if they sort out, if the hearing gets a lot better, so it can actually have a conversation in a busy room with someone directly in front of it. And then we had taste as well. So taste is is also coming. I think that's probably one of the slower ones because you're dealing with all sorts of different, how does a robot recognize the difference between a lemon and an apple, and then it goes into a bit of a brain system, like how does the human brain recognize the difference different, like a lemon and an apple. So yeah, the taste is coming along, but that probably be the slowest one of the lot, I think.
Phil, this is unbelievable. You are just going to have a blast of a career. What do you love most about your
Fun, yeah.
Well, you're so bright. You're such an entrepreneur. You've started this incredible company. What do you personally enjoy the most when you get up every day and do what you do wherever you are? Is there a part of it that just feeds your soul?
Yeah, I think it's finding those applications where a robot would really make a difference. I mean, here in the UK, we have the NHS, and you have the waiting times, and you're waiting inside the hospital waiting room, and there's every time I go in there, I see lots of applications which could be automated, which would speed up the whole process. This is the area we're starting to go into now. So again, on the two sides, so we're looking to automate certain things like blood runs around the hospital, laundry runs around the hospital, food runs around the hospital, so that frees up a person to actually go and be next to the patient. Especially with the nurses, what you don't want is the nurse walking around with blood specimen and drugs. You want her, obviously doing what she enjoys, her main job, working with the patient, and then the robot delivers all of the drugs and the food and the waste for her, as a good example. So yeah, I love it when we build a robot system and it actually does that job. It's actually a successful project. Like the customer's happy, the patients are happy, and yeah, that's what I look for really, the real applications which can really make a big difference. And there's areas where it's actually hard to find people. So those jobs as well, where you can sort of go in there and say, right, this robot can essentially take off the burden of actually looking for people to do the job. So yeah, it's just the excitement really, the future.
And adding to that, I was thinking about, as I was cleaning my vegetables last night, I thought, well, what about the farming industry?
Yeah, so the farming industry is massive and it's really growing. Probably more in Europe than it is in the UK,
Hmm.
but we've seen all sorts of different types of farming robots, farming tractors, autonomous tractors,
Mhm.
various machines to pick fruit and vegetables off the branches. I saw one the other day, which was a robot that had a special spray system, which was, instead of spraying the whole field with all these chemicals, this little guy could pinpoint a tiny plant, a tiny weed. He could see the weed. So going back to the vision again, he could
Wow.
recognize it as a weed and then just spray on that particular spot instead of spraying all over the food, which is then what we consume. And then the other version, there was a light version of that as well. So it wasn't even using chemical sprays, it was just using a laser. So again, the vision would see the weed, and it would literally laser the weed, which is even better because you're not using any chemicals, less water, and then a load of other types of robot applications again for picking all sorts of vegetables. I think in the UK, actually, saying that, I have seen some projects come out of Oxford and Cambridge where we were looking at those specialist types of technologies. I find that the Europe is a little bit more ahead of us, but we tend to we're lucky enough to have the expertise and the team here to make something really new and really like innovative that can go into those types of machines.
You know, all of this could lead people to think, well, gosh, my job is at jeopardy. And we talked about some of your top lessons learned so far. One of them you shared was that we should be thinking that robots aren't killers, they're job shifters. I love that. Robots are not job killers, they are job shifters. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I think I was saying to you before, for the call, is that the way I see it is, have you ever seen one of those pictures where you have a picture of the Earth and then you have a little picture of the moon, and then next to it you have a picture of our sun, which is absolutely massive, and then the picture zooms out and then our sun becomes tiny little dot, and then there's a bigger sun there, and it zooms out again, and then that sun becomes a tiny little dot, and it just shows how big space and the universe is. And obviously, being in the tech and the robot industry, and sort of coming from Star Wars and Star Trek, you know, I love the idea of us being able to go out into space, and to do that, like, we're going to need robot technology to come in so we can be more of a higher level part of that system. And that's the way I see it, from that side. But there's so much space in the universe that we have to explore. Obviously, coming from the UK, a small country that is known in the past to be the explorers of the world, you know, we should be now, all of us, exploring space. So that's how I see it, and that's why I like to encourage people to basically have a look at robots and see where we can start to automate.
Wow. Do you think that then the future of work is going to be more hybrid?
I think the way things are going is robots fit into a slightly different angle than something like AI. So AI is something that's happening very fast, and there's lots of automation tools coming down the line. And though robots and AI are connected, I actually see them as separated, where we can have robots with AI tools. And the reason why I look at it like that is because I see robot as just another tool. So since we were cavemen, obviously, and women in the cave, we were always making and designing tools, and this is just a better version and a better tool. So an individual can do a lot more by themselves with these tools. So that's the way I see it. It's always going to be a tool thing. Now, there is a question, obviously, when AI comes involved and there becomes a form of intelligence, then those tools can obviously work by themselves and do things by themselves. But for me at the moment, again, robots in general, because you're dealing with the real world, not digital world, you're looking at a longer span of time for robots to actually get to that sort of level. So over the next sort of 10 to 20 years, they're only going to be really tools that we can all use.
This has been just an incredible interview. I've so looked forward to it. All of my audience friends that have known about you coming on. And of course, this will be evergreen, which means you'll be up there, Phil, forever on the channel. And speaking of the channel, tell us about your channel because you're a darn good host on your show. How can we watch you?
Thanks, Valerie. Yeah, so basically what I've done, so I started off with the RoboPhil educational channel,
Uh-huh.
and I want to actually get back to that now. I've been doing interviews with different robot companies. So the next step for me is I do daily videos, or I try to do them daily as much as possible for the business daily, Monday to Friday, where it's just the latest updates of the latest tech, and they're only small, short videos, just so people can quickly watch them and go, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's something new. Eventually, I want to be doing a lot more trade shows, going out speaking to different robot companies around trade shows. So that's the next thing. And then we're working on some robots, some educational robots that are coming down the line. I want to be able again to do tutorials and professional stuff around that. So yeah, I pretty much, I think in the YouTube space, you sort of fit into the entertainer space or the educator space. So I'm just obviously want to be on the educator side, because I always get people in the UK actually come up to me and say, oh yeah, I remember that video that you did that I used for my school project. So that's what I like to see. So that's what I'm trying to basically grow and keep going really. So
Well, I want to leave you with I usually say a rose. For a man, I suppose I shouldn't say leaving you a rose, but a deep compliment, and I mean this from my heart. You are really unique. You have the personality to go out and speak. You're not afraid of doing things online like we're doing. You're running your business. You're involving your family. I just want to say personally to you, and I know my audience, because it's called Doing It Right, you are doing it right. And I just wish you all of the future success that you can possibly and will have. And I can't wait for you to email me in the future and say, okay, Valerie, the name of the movie is, and I'll take everyone to go and see it.
yeah. Well, no, it'd be great to get involved with the Short Circuit guys, just because it was the first film like I ever saw. But no, but thank you, Valerie. I mean, this show's great. I really appreciate you allow me to come on the show and speak to your audience. So it's very much appreciated. And yeah, and obviously if you need us anything in the future like robot wise, or then yeah, just give me a shout. I'll be more than happy to help you. So and I will be coming over to America soon. So I'll probably have to come over to Dallas to come see you at some point, definitely.
You better. If you do, and I don't know it, you're going to be in trouble. Dallas is a good place, Phil. I want you to do that. That would be awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. And in the banner, it will show where people can get in touch with you and see your YouTube channel. Is there any one statement or comment you want to make before we end the show today to the audience?
No, I do. I just had a great time. I think having a look into certain robots and applications, and I'd also say from an individual, from an entrepreneurial point of view as well, that we tried to have a look at where younger generations can actually get into robots, and there's various different tracks, and actually start up their own companies and start up their own robots and get funding and everything like that. So yeah, have a look into it. It's definitely the future. And yeah, and if you need anything from me, then feel free to reach out. So
That's a big thing you said. So, audience, did you see that? Those of you who are watching, did you hear that? Those of you who are on audio, this man is doing it. And if you want to start doing it, he's giving you permission to give him a call. So I hope you will do that. And Phil, stay tuned. I always end with a Valerieism, and this is it for today. And it's very fitting, I think. Durable learning goes beyond head knowledge. It's knowledge that goes from the head to your heart to your gut. It's knowing that you know that you know. And I just found that in this book that I love. It's by Matt Batterson. It's called Win the Day. He doesn't even know that, he doesn't know me from Adam. But this is a wonderful book. I have gotten so much of it about it. For me personally, it's meant a lot because it's saying go out there and do what Phil is doing, what you're doing, Phil, and any of us should be doing. Think about in the morning. Just get up and win the day one small step at a time. And I knew you'd resonate with that. And so, audience, if you have enjoyed this show, you know that the only way Phil and I will know is if you make comments. So please, I read every single comment that you write or that you email Valerie at valerieandcompany.com. Isn't that easy? Valerie at valerieandcompany, all spelled out, .com. Let me know. Let me know what people you'd like to have on the show. What topics would you like me to cover? It's just fascinating. I meet wonderful people like Phil today, and I'm never going to stop. Never, ever, ever. So until next time, just keep doing it right. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.